Let's see if we can get ourselves in some trouble today, because I want to talk about femininity. This is something I can only understand in a more relational manner. Masculinity is something that I can explore from within to a greater extent. And although I've said individuals should try to cultivate qualities from both, and I still certainly think that is true, I am predisposed to one, and it's a bit more transparent to me. So my understanding of femininity has only come from the self-exploration that I can do, but more so that I've observed women in the world, and I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by many high quality women, and that's how I've learned about femininity and what I think about it. So like with masculinity, I think femininity is the set of female typical traits that are good for the group. With that said though, I don't think it's true that femininity and masculinity are opposites. I don't view them as two poles along a spectrum, although that is possibly true, I think, depending on how you conceive of the middle ground. A better way to think about it in my mind is that there is the peak of femininity and then there is a peak of masculinity. And there's more similarities between the two than differences. For instance, Mount Kosciuszko is not that different to Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, there's more similarities there than there is with any kind of valley. And I think there is a valley that runs between masculinity and femininity. And that's one reason that it can be difficult to understand one side or the other. But the key point is both of them are peaks and must be climbed and cultivated and developed. And that both peaks are admirable. That is why I think it's really disappointing that culture seems to be trying to minimize and shrink the degree to which men and women express femininity and masculinity. I think men are encouraged to inhibit their drive towards masculinity, and they're not ever encouraged to develop it, grow it, and express it. Whereas women are, possibly to an even greater extent, I think, are encouraged to completely forego femininity. And it's as if the work that has gone into liberating women socially and economically would be undone if women were to lean into their femininity, which I think is actually so strange. Treating men as defunct women and women as if they should become men. I really struggle to comprehend how that gels with the ethos of femininity. I think the more that culture pushes us towards this blurred middle ground of decreased femininity and decreased masculinity, the more fragile the culture becomes, because important qualities and attributes aren't being developed by its individuals. And I also think it just makes for a more miserable experience of the participants of that culture. Even if it was good for the culture overall to do this, it would be a trade-off you'd have to consider if it made for an experience of the individuals that wasn't enjoyable. But I think it's actually harmful and negative in both directions. An example of why I think this is true is the decline in dating and marriage and things like that. Now, these are huge social forces, and there's many reasons that I think this is occurring. There's obviously been changes to marriage laws, dating apps, the way our society is now more remote than ever. All these things have had an effect. But generally speaking, I think masculinity and femininity are attractive qualities, and the suppression of each of them is going to reduce the drive to pair bond. And speaking purely from a male perspective here, the reason I think that femininity is attractive is because if what I say about femininity is true, that they are female typical traits that are good for the group, then femininity is attractive to me because I'm not good at female typical traits. That's the first part. And the second part is that it's good for the group. It means I will benefit from these group helping traits. Okay, it shows that someone has the ability to move beyond their own selfish needs and means. And I think that's why masculinity is attractive too. There's nothing desirable about someone who is hyper competent but so self-absorbed in getting their own needs met, and that's it. And at least from my observation, this seems to be something that is being encouraged a fair bit more of women these days. The whole idea of you don't need a man, you shouldn't take care of a man. It's just go out, get yours, live your best life. And again, I don't think this misses the mark by much. There's a lot of good stuff within that. But again, just purely when it comes back to what makes masculinity and femininity attractive to partners, it's the fact that there is a selfless component to them. There's specialist knowledge and skills and competence, and then a tendency to share those. And again, just speaking anecdotally here from my own experience, it's been really interesting to observe women and discuss with them the degree to which they want respect from men in certain domains, and equally so when I speak with my friends or observe them as well, who, my male friends I'm talking about here, who have become fathers, they are mind blown at how amazing their wives and partners are, and watching them go through motherhood, not only the birth experience, but child raising, what they do, the level at which they seem to transcend to, that leaves them in absolute adoration for these women. I find it counterintuitive to an extent that in many ways women are desperate for the respect of men, and yet the thing that men respect most is competence and things they can't do. And that is why I think mothers just get so much respect from men everywhere. And I hope I'm not projecting in that regard. Anyone who has seen what mothers do and go through, I think can arrive at nothing but utter respect for them. So those are just some thoughts I have around the topic. It was probably not the most linear and clear take on the matter. But the key points I wanted to get across are femininity is a peak of its own. It is not the opposite of masculinity. It's much more like Superman and Wonder Woman than Superman and Lex Luthor, or, enter some female villain. Those similarities are important. And I think society gets better when we encourage men and women to grow both their masculinity and femininity, but particularly to encourage men to become masculine and women to become feminine. Again, not entirely, but to a significant extent. From there, I think you find at the individual level, women are attracted to men who are masculine because they have a predisposition towards traits that they don't have, and those traits can be shared beyond just benefiting the individual. And same for femininity. Men are attracted to feminine women because they can do things that men can't, but doing those things helps more than just that woman. Feel free to give me any thoughts you have. As I've said, I can only understand this from a relational perspective. I'm one man observing the world. I have much more learning to do, but all of this was said in good faith and in a well-meaning manner. So I hope you got something out of it. Thank you.